So let's read the summary of the chapter, and then we're reading text 1 and then text 2, which is on the board. Hare Krishna.
You're giving the lecture?
No, you're giving the lecture.
I thought something like that might happen. Sorry.
You're welcome. Just gonna see where everybody is.
Once I remember a senior devotee told me a story that Srila Prabhupada, the disciples, they organized a big pandal program. And Srila Prabhupada was invited. It was somewhere in America. And when Srila Prabhupada got there, the hall was virtually empty. And when the hall was empty, then all the disciples felt so bad, and then they apologized. Srila Prabhupada, I'm very sorry, we organized this, but nobody came, and then Srila Prabhupada said, you don't see? Look, Narada Muni is here. And he then addressed that all the demigods were there. So as to say that whenever the Krishna Katha is going on, all the demigods actually come to listen. So even if the temple room is a little bit empty, still we can be assured that the demigods, they are there to listen to the glories of the Lord, even if sometimes devotees don't come to listen. Okay, on that note, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Thank you. Jasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Jamuna tira vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhav Jaya Radha Madhav Jaya Radha Madhav Jaya Prahlad Nrsinga Jaya Prahlad Nrsinga Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Panchatattva Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Gaur Premanande Thank you. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Paribrajkacharya Ashto Saraswata Shishimad Abhacharanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Vrinda Devi Tulsi Maharani ki Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashati Tisthari Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jamudirai Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, which is entitled the creative impetus. Canto 5 entitled Creative Impetus. Today we are beginning with a new chapter, chapter 19, which is entitled A Description of the Island of Jambudvipa. So I'll also read the introduction before we dive in today's verse. Today we have two verses, text 1 and text 2. Because text 1 has no purport, we will read until text 2, which has a purport. So the introduction to chapter 19 reads as follows. This chapter describes the glories of Bharatavarsha, and it also describes how Lord Ramachandra is being worshipped in the tract of land known as Kim Purushavarsha. The inhabitants of Kim Purushavarsha are fortunate because they worship Lord Ramachandra with his faithful servant Hanuman. Lord Ramachandra exemplifies an incarnation of Godhead who descends from the mission of Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Cha Dushkritam, protecting the devotees and destroying the miscreants. Lord Ramachandra exhibits the actual purpose of an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the devotees take the opportunity to offer loving transcendental service to him. One should surrender fully to the Lord, forgetting one's so-called material happiness, opulence, and education, which are not at all useful for pleasing the Lord. The Lord is pleased only by the process of surrender unto him. When Devasri Narada descended to instruct Sarvani Manu, he described the opulence of Bharatavarsha, India. Sarvani Manu and the inhabitants of Bharatavarsha engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the origin of creation, maintenance, and annihilation, and who is always worshipped by self-realized souls. In the planet known as Bharatavarsha, there are many rivers and mountains, as there are in other tracts of land. Yet, Bharatavarsha has special significance because in this tract of land there exists the Vedic principle of Varnashrama Dharma, which divides society into 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas. Furthermore, Narada Muni's opinion is that even if there is some temporary disturbance in the execution of Varnashrama Dharma principles, they can be revived at any moment. The effect of adhering to the institution of Varnashrama is gradual elevation to the spiritual platform and liberation from material bondage. By following the principles of Varnashrama Dharma, one gets the opportunity to associate with devotees. Such association gradually awakens one's dormant propensity to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead and frees one from all the basic principles of sinful life. One then gets the opportunity to offer unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Lord, Vasudev. Because of this opportunity, the inhabitants of Bharatavarsha are praised even in the heavenly planets. Even in the topmost planet of this universe, Brahmaloka, the position of Bharatavarsha is discussed with great relish. All the conditioned living entities are evolving within the universe in different planets and different species of life. Thus, one may be elevated to Brahmaloka, but then one must again descend to earth, as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Abrahma Bhuvana Loka Punar Avartino Arjuna. If those who live in Bharatavarsha rigidly follow the principles of Varnashrama Dharma and develop their dormant Krishna consciousness, they need not return to this material world after death. Any place where one cannot hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead from realized souls, even if it be Brahmaloka, is not very congenial to the living entity. If one who has taken birth in the land of Bharatavarsha as a human being does not take advantage of the opportunity for spiritual elevation, this position is certainly the most miserable. In the land known as Bharatavarsha, even if one is a Sarva Kama Bhakta, a devotee seeking the fulfillment of some material desire, he is freed from all material desires by his association with devotees. And ultimately, he becomes a pure devotee and returns back home, back to Godhead without difficulty. At the end of this chapter, Sri Shukadev Goswami describes to Maharaj Parikshit the 8 sub-islands within the island of Jambudvipa. Sri Shuka Uvacha, text 1. Kim purushe varshe bhagavantam adi purusham lakshmanangrajam sitabhiramam ramam tacharana sannikashabhirata parama bhagavato hanuman saha kim purushe ravirata bhakti rupasate. Translation reads as follows. Srila Shukadev Goswami said, "My dear king, in Kim Purusha Varsha, the great devotee Hanuman is always engaged with the inhabitants of the land in devotional service to Lord Ramachandra, the elder brother of Lakshman and the dear husband of Sita Devi." Text 2, we can chant it, I believe. Let's see. Anyone wants to suggest the melody for this? Let's see. Arti Arsatishna Saha Gandhave Anu. Anyway, I think I will just read it. I don't think I have the melody for it. Is that okay with everybody? I just read it. Artishanena saha gandharvair anugiyamanam parama kalyanim bhartir bhagavat katham samupashnoti swayam chedam gayati. Please repeat the word-to-word meaning after me. Ashtishena, the chief personality of Kim Purusha Varsha. Saha, with Gandharvai, by a company of Gandharvas. Anugiyamanam, being chanted. Paramakalyanim, most auspicious. Bhartir, Bhagavat Katham, the glories of his master, who is also the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Samupashnoti, he hears with great attention. Swayam cha, and personally. Idam, this. Gayati, chants. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. A host of Gandharvas is always engaged in chanting the glories of Lord Ramachandra. That chanting is always extremely auspicious. Hanumanji and Artishena, the chief person in Kim Purusha Varsha, constantly hear those glories with complete attention. Hanuman chants the following mantras. So it's like a cliffhanger. We are left with text 2 at the suspense. Oh, what are these mantras? Which will follow in the next verses. Purport. In the Puranas, there are 2 different opinions concerning Lord Ramachandra. In the Laghu Bhagavatamrita 5:34-36, this is confirmed in the description of the incarnation of Manu. Vasudevadi Rupanam Avatara Prakirtita Vishnu dharmottaro Rama Lakshmanadya kramadame Padme tu Rama Bhagavan Narayana itirita Sheshas-chakram cha shankascha kramatsyo Syur Lakshmanadaya Madhya Desha Stita Yodhya Puresya Vasati Smrita Mahavaikuntha Lokecha Raghavedrasya Kirtita. The Vishnu Dharmottara describes the Lord Ramachandra and his brothers Lakshman, Bharat and Shatrughna are incarnations of Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Anuruddha respectively. The Padma Purana however, says that Lord Ramachandra is an incarnation of Narayan and that the other three brothers are incarnations of Shesha, Chakra and Shankha. Therefore, Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan has concluded Tad idam kalpa bhedinaiva sambhavyam. In other words, these opinions are not contradictory. In some millennium, Lord Ramachandra and his brothers appear as incarnations of Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha, and in other millenniums they appear as incarnations of Narayan, Shesha, Chakra and Shankha. The residence of Lord Ramachandra on this planet is Ayodhya. Ayodhya city is still existing in the district of Hyderabad, which is situated on the northern side of Uttar Pradesh. So let us chant the invocation together. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manubhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Desatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratushe Namaha Nilachala Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadras Bhadrabhyam Jagannataya Te Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Shri Radha Kanta Namastate Jayatam Suratau Pangor Mama Manda Matirkate Matsarvasya Padambhoja Shri Radha Madan Mohana Divyad Vindaranya Kalpadrumadav Srimad Ratnagar Singhashanastha Shriman Radha Srila Govinda Deva Pristhalebhi Vimanam Smarami Shriman Rasa Rasarambhi Vamsi Vatatatashata Karshan Venu Swaner Gopi Gopinatha Shriyastuna Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham karoti vachalam pangam langayate girim yat kripatamaham bande Shri Guru Dinataram Paramanandamavadam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So we read the translation of the verse once again. A host of Gandharvas is always engaged in, or maybe I read both, text 1. Srila Shukadev Goswami said, My dear king, In Kim Purusha Varsha, the great devotee Hanuman is always engaged with the inhabitants of that land in devotional service to Lord Ramachandra, the elder brother of Lakshman and dear husband of Sita Devi. Text 2. A host of Gandharvas is always engaged in chanting the glories of Lord Ramachandra. That chanting is always extremely auspicious. Hanumanji and Arshtisena, the chief person in Kimpurusha Varsha, constantly hear those glories with complete attention. Hanuman chants the following mantras. So before we begin a discussion on this verse, I humbly seek the mercy and blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas, all the senior devotees, so that I may be able to perform this devotional service primarily for my own purification. So, yes, we are at this interesting juncture, which is perhaps one of the reasons why devotees find sometimes Canto 5 can be very boring, because it is just a description. It can be quite fascinating if you are a little bit nerdy, like one of my friends, Narayani. She is quite a nerd. And for her, all these details are very fascinating about this geography. But now we just have a description of the island of Jambudvipa in this chapter. And of course, it's something we can still take note of. In the introduction, we discussed how the whole point of going into this description is to glorify Bharatvarsha. And why is Bharatvarsha being glorified? Does anyone remember from the introduction? Yes, thank you, Dinadar Prabhu. The glory of Bharatvarsha is that if a person happens to perform, even Sarva Kama Bhakta, even a person who's seeking material desire can become freed from material desire by performing devotional service, most importantly, in association of devotees. And ultimately, such a person, because of this association of devotees, has the chance to become a pure devotee and return back to Godhead without difficulty. And hence, this Bharatavarsha is utmost glorious. And lo and behold, we are very fortunate because we are also here in this earthly realm, also in Bharatavarsha. Of course, in a different side of Bharatavarsha, because sometimes, at least according to the current geography, Bharatvarsha is considered to be this little subcontinent like we understand in the contemporary geography now, India. But as we know, Bharatvarsha used to be the whole world. All the continents used to be part of this Bharatvarsha. And who was the ruling king? It was King Bharata, and hence the name Bharatavarsha. And we see here that Kim Purusha Varsha is therefore described here, and here it says, within this Bharatavarsha, I suppose, is Kim Purusha Varsha, a tract of land where Lord Ramachandra is worshipped. And we see that it is in great detail going to be described in this chapter, at least in the beginning, the worship of Lord Ramachandra. So if Hanuman Prabhu is listening online, he would be very happy, because as you may be knowing, Hanuman Prabhu is a devout devotee of Lord Ramachandra, and especially his eternal servant, Hanuman. So I think our Hanuman Prabhu would be especially pleased in this part of Srimad Bhagavatam, where the glories of the worship of Lord Ramachandra is being described. So we see that a very minute detail is given in the purport, and sometimes when you read such a purport, you think, what are we going to discuss in the lecture? But I was thinking of highlighting a little bit. We will also have a little bit of a discussion format, highlighting a little bit of this aspect that Srimad Bhagavatam cannot be understood without the guidance of a proper teacher. And spiritual life in general cannot be understood without the spiritual master and without the association of devotees. So this is something we could take as the context for our discussion today. But I would like to just point out this fine detail which is mentioned here, that there is some scriptures, for example, the Laghu Bhagavatamrita and the Vishnu Dharmottara, which describes that Lord Ramachandra and his brothers, who were the brothers? It was Lord Ram, Lord Lakshman, and Shatrughna and Bharata. So there were, King Dasharath, who is the father of Lord Ramachandra, King Dasharath had 3 wives. First was Kaushalya, who was the mother of Lord Ramachandra. Then we had Kaikeyi, who was the mother of Bharata. And then we had Sumitra, if I'm not wrong. Sumitra was the mother of Lakshman and Shatrughna, if I remember it correctly. So these were the 3 mothers. And if you read this book on Lord Ramachandra, which is actually very prevalent in ISKCON, it describes that King Dasharath, he wanted to beget sons to propagate and flourish his kingdom. And therefore he did a yagya, a special yagya, on the instructions of some sages. Does anyone remember which were the munis who did the yagya? Do you remember, Deenadayal Prabhu? Could be Vishwamitra, Vasishtha. Yeah. Anyway, this is a homework for all of us to go look it up. That who was the person who did the yagya for King Dasharath. And in this yagya, they offered sweet rice. And this sweet rice which came, it was to be divided between the wives. It was 1 pot of sweet rice. And in the Ramayana, I remember when I read it as a kid, it described that half of the sweet rice went to Kaushalya. Then half of it went to... Half of the rest was again further divided, by which half went to... one fourth went to Sumitra, 1/4 went to Kaikeyi, and the remaining half was again given to Kaushalya, or something like that. It was very interesting. And then I remember that I had read this when I was, I think, 11, and I found it very interesting how the sweet rice, you can go and read it again, it's been many years I haven't read it. It's very interesting that the sweet rice was also divided in a very strange way, not like half and like that. And then I had asked His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj that why is it that there was such a division and not a proper division? And he explained to me that this division was there because the sweet rice in a way was potent, and whoever had the most potent part, like if Kaushalya had half plus 1/4, therefore she was the mother of Lord Ramachandra, and so on. So also that is how specific the details of the scriptures are. Everything has a reason. And that's why even the division of sweet rice was done in a particular manner, because it had so much potency that the person who consumed the most was the mother of Lord Ramachandra. And according to the power of the incarnation, the variation of sweet rice varied. Anyway, we see here the description that at some places, the 4 brothers are described as we know, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. So Vasudev is represented by Lord Ramachandra, Sankarshan by Lakshman, Pradyumna represented by Bharat, and Aniruddha represented by Shatrughna. However, Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan actually makes this analysis. As we know, Padma Purana says, no. Actually, Lord Ramachandra and his brothers were incarnation of Narayan, Shesha, Chakra and Shankha. So Lord Narayan came with his paraphernalia, which is also personalities. Shesha represented by Lord Lakshman, Chakra represented by Bharat, and Shankha represented by Shatrughna. However, so one may think, why is it that two different scriptures describe this detail differently? But Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan, he helps us to understand that actually there is no contradiction. That in different millenniums the Lord appears in different with his different incarnations. So sometimes he may appear as incarnation of Narayan and so on, and sometimes he may appear as incarnation of Vasudeva and so on. So that is very interesting. And this drives us to the point of our discussion today, how the importance of recognizing the importance of spiritual master. So Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshur Om Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. So let us meditate on how the spiritual master actually eradicates all doubts, dissipates the darkness that we may have, because the transcendental knowledge may not be fully understood by us because of our four imperfections. Does anyone remember what are our four imperfections of humankind especially? Cheating propensity, yes. Imperfect senses. Adrian, you know four propensities? Okay, we can revise it again. One is cheating propensity, that we have a tendency to cheat. Then we have imperfect senses, right? If you put yourself in a dark room, how much can you see? That's a realization of the fact that we have imperfect senses. What else? Two more. Yes, we always make mistakes. And we have the tendency to be illusioned. I may think that this girl or this boy is in love with me, and then I realize, oh no, actually they are not. So this is the tendency to be illusioned. So these are the four defects of humankind: illusion, mistakes, cheating, and imperfection. Yes, these are the four imperfections that we have as human beings. And therefore, when we try to understand transcendental knowledge, our material vision, our false ego gets in the way because we think we know it all. That is precisely why we are here. And therefore, it is only by surrender unto the spiritual master that this can be revealed in our heart. We know Mahajanayena Gathasa Pantha. I forgot the first line, but this verse actually talks about how transcendental knowledge is actually hidden in the heart of elevated pure devotees, and it is only when we surrender to them and inquire from them submissively that this knowledge can get revealed from their heart to our heart. We also know Tene Brahma Hidaya Adi Kavaye. Transcendental knowledge is actually a revelation of the heart. It's not something you can hear. Yes, you can hear, of course. But the revelation is really a matter of the heart. And how do we inquire from the spiritual master? We know Tad Vidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya. So we have to inquire submissively. Srila Prabhupada also mentioned that before you look for a spiritual master, you can do tarka vitarka, you can argue, you can question, you can use your intelligence. But as soon as you choose a spiritual master, you should be like a fool before your spiritual master. So there is no point. Then once you accept a bona fide spiritual master, the only thing then one should do is surrender and hear submissively, question submissively. There is no space, you could say then, for challenging the spiritual master. And that is a mood that we must hold. Otherwise we can always have this tendency of challenge, and we can never learn the tendency of surrender, which is the ultimate qualification in spiritual life. So I thought maybe we do a little bit of a discussion of personally reflecting maybe in our life, if we ever had any instance where, yeah, we may be practicing spirituality, we may be reading the scriptures, but there was a clarification from the spiritual master, which was like the aha moment, like we thought, okay, now I understand. So maybe we can reflect on it a little bit and make this a bit more relevant. Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai. Jai Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. So yes, please feel free to share any instance where you may have personally experienced with your spiritual master or with your teachers where you felt this revelation or something was clarified, and this shows the importance of having a bona fide teacher in our life. So it doesn't have to be that you have to be an initiated devotee. Even if, like, for example, you joined in the temple as a bhakta or bhaktin, and then you had this experience that someone clarified something to you, which shows you the importance of having teachers and the importance of the association of devotees. Yes, Vrindavan Chand Prabhu.
Maybe not what you want, but once I was in Vrindavan, and then Satchidananda Swami came on a rickshaw against my rickshaw, and then he only said, Haribol! And then I realized that he's a representative of Krishna. That means for him everybody is important and he loves everybody.
So this was also in a kind of a revelation that you had by this experience of meeting your spiritual master, that through the action also the spiritual master teaches. And what does he teach? So in this you saw the principle that the spiritual master teaches us how every living entity, every soul, every devotee is so important. Thank you. Yes. Any other sharings? And doesn't only have to be with the spiritual master, could be any devotee, any person. I can say one thing about Mahakrishna Prabhu. What I learned, that once we were in the pujari room and there was something which was happening, which was really frustrating. And then I was telling Mahakrishna Prabhu, again this, and like this had happened. And we were doing service together in this two pujari system, so it was just me and Mahakrishna Prabhu. And then Mahakrishna Prabhu said, you know Chili? He called me Chili. He said, you know Chili, actually this is like Krishna is sending a test, it's purification, and it cannot happen if Krishna doesn't want it. And something like a simple fact which we may forget. And this is the power of association of devotees, that, it was something that was also troubling him and his service, but just the fact that to be able to see this in provoking circumstances, to be able to remember that as devotees, when we surrender, we have to understand that everything happens for a reason. Krishna has a bigger reason why it happens, and so on. So that was my experience of when I see Mahakrishna Prabhu, I got reminded of that experience. Anything else you would like to share that maybe you went through or had an experience? Yes, Adikeshwar Prabhu.
Was temple president, I was preaching in a certain way. And my GBC, His Holiness Devasri Radhika, he looked at me and said that your own life is not really. I was like preaching like idealistically, you know. Devotees shouldn't depend too much on external education. They should depend on Krishna. We were cultivating brahmacharis, and I could see they were, getting a little bit too absorbed in, I need this, I need that. And I wanted to emphasize that first of all you need Krishna and then go from there. Don't just study anything because you need money or something like that. Do something that's depending on Krishna. So I was preaching, but I think I went a little bit over the top. So he looked at me, because I was temple president and I needed money too. I mean, my situation wasn't so clear either. So he looked at me and said, your life is not really an example. So why are you preaching like this? That was really instructive.
Yeah, sometimes our teachers can give us this wake-up call. Yeah, sometimes we can be so idealistic in what we say, but also our teachers can remind us, also focus on what you do, and if the walking and talking, they match. That's a very nice example. Thank you very much. Yes, Vrindavan Chandraprabhu.
I could tell hundreds, but
We don't have time for hundreds, but...
in the beginning when I joined here, the position of Shiva was completely neglected. Somehow we put, the devotee put them in the category of demigods, and demigod worship is only for, what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. And then I was again in Vrindavan, and then with Sajananda Swami, and then now we go to Kopeshwar Mahadev. And then, okay, what we are doing there? And then he explained that without his mercy we cannot enter the Dham because he protects it. And then I realized, okay, he's very important actually for us.
Very true, yes. And these little misconceptions can be so... we need a teacher with this elevated consciousness and advanced knowledge, actually, to dissipate these misconceptions. Yes.
We had once a Shiva Ratri here, and then was a picture of Shiva on the altar, and then one Prabhupada disciple was here, I will not give the class if Shiva is there.
Oh, wow.
That was so strong, you can imagine.
Yeah. Krishna, Krishna. Yes.
But now it's different, of course.
Yeah. Now we are a bit more mature. we don't no more think we are more advanced than Lord Shiva. So, yes. Adrian, you had any experiences that you would like to share?
That I offended an older person.
No, not offended, but maybe that you got some teaching through somebody, like that somebody, like you didn't know about something, or someone, you knew about something, but you knew like the wrong thing, but like a teacher clarified, actually, this is the real understanding, something like that.
Yeah, this experience. So I grew up in a Christian way, and for some Christians, other religions are very bad, and you should not listen to them, and it's very dangerous. I didn't care actually, and somebody gave me the Bhagavad Gita, and for me it's so nice to see the Bhagavad Gita also, and I think I can understand better the Christianity when I know a little bit of Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah. That gives you like a fresh perspective, and that's the beauty of Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, that it is as it is, and the purports are so powerful that it really gives you a personal guidance through the Bhagavad Gita, that you understand what is Krishna really saying. Yes, thank you very much for sharing that. Yes, Dinadayal Prabhu.
Once happened to be in the Chapati temple in Mumbai, and I saw His Holiness Radhanath Swami walking in the courtyard, Chapa, and I thought, okay, that's by chance. Let me ask some question. It's not easy, to approach him. So I went to Maharaj, asked him, my own initiating spiritual master gave me instruction to improve my japa. How can I do that? That's the question. Maharaj, he took his right hand out from the back, touched my forehead, so like this. That Trinad piece.
Chai.
Put the hand back and continued chanting. And
You're
so-
blessed.
But something that we have heard hundreds of times from all the lectures, but when it's said personally, this setting has much more impact.
Yes.
Something you will never forget.
And this is the role of the teacher and the spiritual master, to leave this impression in our heart and to clarify. You can be reading like you mentioned, you can be reading the same thing over and over again and hearing the same thing over and over again. But it is when the spiritual master or the teacher or a guide or the devotees, when they expand upon it and when they say it, it really hits in a different way, and then you see clarity. So let us use this moment of reflection, and it is also, this verse talks about this little detail of how Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan actually pointed out, actually there is no contradiction. And similarly, we have the position of Srila Prabhupada in our life, that we may think that this doesn't work or the scripture says, but Srila Prabhupada brings us to this point where he shows us actually there is no anomaly. The scriptures are in support of each other. It's just our understanding which may not be complete, and therefore we should take shelter of his instructions and learn from his purports and not try to supersede. Sometimes devotees think that Srila Prabhupada didn't give us everything and I need to read this or I need to read that. But indeed Srila Prabhupada gave us everything in his purport, in his work. So let us dive into it deeply. And because this text was about Lord Ramachandra, so I will also urge you to be in a little bit of this Ayodhya mood, and I have a small, you could say joke. I think I heard it from Keshav Maharaj, that as we know that Lord Ramachandra, when he went to exile, he had Lord Lakshmana, his younger brother, with him. And Lord Lakshmana, as a younger brother, did so much service. And then, we also know about this when the golden deer was there and Mother Sita was so heavy with him and, said that, you want to enjoy me, that's why. And then Lakshman, we know he made the Lakshman Rekha, he went away. And then when he went to get the Sanjeevani, he was unconscious and he went through so much. And it's very interesting that Keshav Maharaj once in his lecture was saying, that's why Lord Lakshman decided, never again. I will never come back as a younger brother again. That's why the next incarnation, whenever he comes back as the older brother. So we see when he came back as Lord Balaram, then he came back as the older brother. And when he came back as Lord Nityananda, he came back as the older brother. So it's very interesting how Lakshmana, after having this experience as a younger brother and being mortified, realized never again. And he only came back as a younger brother. So yes, we can meditate on the glories of Lord Ram, very auspicious. I think we don't talk about Lord Ramchandra much, so let's take advantage in diving in Srimad Bhagavatam. In this part especially, when there is meditation and prayers by Lord Hanuman, in the following verses, very beautiful prayers about Lord Ramachandra's mission and how he annihilated Ravan. So I wish you full absorption in the following, and also always to remember our gratitude to Srila Prabhupada, who has made this as a revelation to us. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.